Hello everyone, this is Tuesday the 7th at 7 p.m. That's 7-7. Isn't that interesting? So I trust everyone is wonderfully well and has had a very, very good bank holiday weekend here in UK, Ireland, and wherever else in the world. We certainly had a beautiful weekend weather-wise, and we also had a beautiful weekend. Well, I was prepping on Saturday for a wonderful, wonderful day we actually had yesterday. Sorry, not yesterday. What day is it anyway? On Sunday, yeah, we had our first of our ongoing series of emotional and mental well-being support group shops, and absolutely resounding success. It really, really, really was. Oh, energy bouncing off the walls and off the ceiling, and a little piece of heaven, quite frankly. It really was. And you know, everyone who was present brought their essence and brought their presence with them, their anticipation, their expectancy. And really, it was a memorable day. Very, very powerful, very empowering, and yeah, absolutely delighted how it went. And as I say, it's the first of many to come. And yeah, I'll give an announcement at the end of this as to when our next one actually is. Which is very soon, by the way, very soon. It is our objective, as I said last week, to roll out one every fortnight. And true to our word, that's what's going to be happening. Okay, so today, what are we going to be talking about today? Well, as we know, Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock is all about relationships. And I sent out a reminder this morning. Or was it afternoon? I don't know. Whatever time of the day it was. It was earlier on today anyway, where we were going to be talking about shifting from dependence and codependence into inner self-reliance and interdependence. And what does that really mean? And how do we go about that? Etc., etc., etc. So, before we do so, you may recall that the first thing we do before we start is to do our mantra. It's our breathing exercise, which is called Relax, I Am Within. And I know a number of you on here have heard it before, and some of you who are with us on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. Certainly, you heard it so many times during Sunday. It's probably ringing in your ears and in your subconscious, which was, of course, the objective. Because, as we've said before, the truth of who we actually are is not here. This is the program. We were programmed into the head, and the ego mind and the head took over the running of the being. Through fear and control, the soul and the heart was impacted and covered up, and the I am presence within, the truth of who we all actually are, was covered up. And we moved from here to here, and we went into the head, which is fear and control, and essentially we stopped breathing properly. So one of the first things, of course, that we talked about a lot on Sunday was about learning how to breathe again. First thing we do when we arrive on the planet, last thing we do when we leave the planet is breathe. Well, what the heck should we be doing in between? Not breathing. But that's the way we were programmed. So, of course, we all knew how to breathe very, very, very easily and with ease and with full of vitality, and we went to bed and we slept like a baby. I mean, how many times have you heard an adult saying that? I had a great night's sleep last night. I slept like a baby. Well, hey, when we return to that level of awareness and consciousness of being at ease within ourselves, we sleep like a baby every night. and we have full vitality and energy and creativity and all of that wonderful stuff throughout the day, because we are breathing properly, consciously. In other words, what I call it is conscious breathing, which is effectively breathing consciously in through the nose and out through the mouth. So we're going to do this exercise together, and then maybe just give a quick elaboration as to what it really does. So let's do it first, and then a quick elaboration then afterwards. So it's in through the nose, and interestingly enough, we've two nostrils. Have you ever noticed? We have two nostrils and one mouth. Yeah, two ears as well. That's interesting. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Right, the two nostrils. One nostril goes to one side of the brain, and the other nostril goes to the other side. I understand they cross over. So, left brain, right nostril, I understand, right nostril, left brain. So when we breathe in through the nostrils, we are actually balancing the both sides of the hemispheres of the brain. Remember, we talked last week that the male is the left side and the female is the right side. So the logical and analytical is the male side, hence the reason why we have a male-dominated controlled world. Yeah, controlled and actually taken out of our creativity and our intuition, which of course is linked to our right brain. And 10%, just like the iceberg, is the conscious mind, and 90% is the subconscious. 90% of the iceberg is underneath. That's why it's called sub. It's actually under. Sub meaning under, not less than. In actual fact, the subconscious mind is literally 90% of our consciousness. The conscious mind is 10%. So wouldn't it be a great idea to be able to use the subconscious, wouldn't it? And be true to it. Living from within. I call it follow the heart and listen to the gut feeling. You as ladies know all this stuff. You know to live from your heart and live from your gut feeling. We as men, we had to, we were programmed out of it predominantly. But also females were too. But you as ladies, you have a stronger sense or form of intuition. But we as guys, we have it too. We all have it. We all had it as little kids, and we all have it still. But it's been covered up through fear and control. So this little exercise, which I've shared many times before, and we're going to do it now here again together. Relax, I am within. So breathing in through the nose and repeating the word relax. And then breathing in through the nose and repeating the words I am, and then repeating the words within. So it takes us out of here and brings us back to the truth of who we actually are here. Balances the left and the right brain, balances the male and the female within ourselves. In other words, we're falling in love with our male and female selves instead of looking for the other half outside. You know, me as a guy looking for the other half, i.e. female, outside myself. No, did it for far too long. Wrecked my own health, emotional, mental and physical well-being, as many of you know. And it wasn't until I stopped searching out there and I realized that the search was futile out there that I had to absolutely return to love within myself. In other words, the balancing of the left and right brain, the male and female within myself, the yin and the yang, becoming whole and complete within ourselves. And then we stop the search. So here we go. Let's do this together. Relax, 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 relax. I am, I am, I am, I am. Within, 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 within. Relax, I am within. We were programmed out of here into here, and we forgot who we were. And then we went and searched for meaning to try to recover the knowledge of who we actually are. And we searched here, there, and everywhere. And the more we searched, the further down the road to nowhere we actually got. Until sooner or later the penny drops. And I'm extremely grateful that 21 years ago the penny dropped for me. After 14, how many years was it? 21 years of searching. From age 14 to 35. Searching outside myself in relationships for a love, looking for a love. I mean, how many times have we heard the words, similar words to that song and other songs? Looking for love. My word, looking for love. Take a look in the mirror, folks. The eyes are the windows to the soul. Home is where the heart is. Charity begins at home. Charity meaning love. And home is where the heart is. So where is love? Love is not out there or anywhere. Love is here. And when we find it in here, then we have it to share. How can we share something that we don't yet have? Well, we actually have it, but it's just been covered up by fear. So that relax I am within exercise literally takes us out of the head and returns us back to here. And if any time we feel under stress or pressure or whatever else, and we are temporarily forgetting who we actually are, we simply take 3 deep breaths, repeat the mantra, relax I am within, and it brings us right back inside. Such a simple exercise. But so powerful. Absolutely powerful. You know the beautiful thing about it, we don't even need to close our eyes to do it. Have you ever heard the term daydream? I used to hear it a lot, especially when I was at school. Jennings, wake up. You're in a daydream. Shame I ever went to sleep, wasn't it? So that's what's going on. That's what we're endeavoring here to do in these videos, and of course in our emotional and well-being support group workshops, is to endeavor to assist people in waking up to the truth of who they actually are again, so that they can take back control of their own lives. Whose life is it anyway? So instead of looking outside to another person for love, or looking outside to another person or to something else or whatever else for fulfillment. Fulfillment is here. Feeling fulfilled, and then fulfillment meaning mind. This percolates the fulfilling aspect, the whole and complete aspect of our true selves, the I am within, percolates up into the head, and the mind becomes whole and complete as well. So the I am within and the soul and the heart take over the running of the mind. What actually happened was, of course, that the mind was covered up. Sorry, the mind covered up everything else through program. Remember this last week? Just going to touch on this because this is mega important. When we get this here, this is the way we were born. This is it. So all we need to do is to recover the true essence of all of this. So you see the center, it says I am, coming from here down. See, we've got the soul, heart, ego, mind, and the body. We were programmed out of the heart, out of the soul, and out of the I am presence, and we lived completely through the ego mind, and the poor body was actually caught up in a false sense of identity. So our entire lives were caught up with our appearances and our mental ability. See there, mental ability? Here we go. Our attention, so how we looked and our thinking. See here, thinking and how we looked. That's what our entire lives were taken up with. I was the same. You know, fast cars, fast women. Don't mean to be disrespectful, but yeah, you know, how to be the best looking cars and the best looking girls. Why was that? Because I was feeling crap within myself. I had to appear to look good when in actual fact I was screaming inside. Why? There you go. See that? This is what happened to us all. We were all programmed. I'll turn it the right way up, might be better, eh? That's for Australian. You see that? That's what happened. So the I am presence within, the soul and the heart were all covered up. Our capacity to feel, our spirituality, All of that was covered. So what we're endeavoring to do in these workshops that we're putting on and these videos that we're doing is to do this. Take away the covering, uncover. That's it, uncover. In other words, recover and discover the truth of who we actually are rather than searching outside for love and fulfillment in relationships. And, you know, I left trails of disaster behind me. Absolutely, trails of disaster. What do I mean by that? Well, let me put it like this. If I didn't find something that I was looking for in somebody else, I moved on to the next, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. Men and women, we all do that until eventually, what happens, a lot of people, they get so disempowered and disenchanted with the chase, they eventually do a thing called settle down. I mean, hello. Settle down. Settle down is another, excuse me for being direct here. Settle down could be another way of saying settle for less. You know, down is less than. Settle for less. Settle down. Settle down. Listen, personally speaking, the search goes on until we find what we're looking for. But when I ran out of emotional, mental, and physical energy, didn't have any more physical, mental, or emotional energy to chase, then I was forced to stop and listen to what? Listen to my inner self. Listen to the truth that was trying to get through. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever tried to phone someone and the line's always engaged? Line busy. Dude. Line busy. Yeah. Same with us. This thing here was so busy, the soul and the heart couldn't get through. Until bang, the 4x2 plank of wood, which hit me in June of 1990. And then for the next 7.5, in fact, yeah, 8 years actually it was. 8 years, bang. Yeah. 8 years. Some people call it the dark night of the soul. Let me tell you something. I was so empty. I felt so empty. I was endeavoring to, you know, this here, the I am within me was gone. So I tried to fill it with anything and everything. Anything and everything. And the more I searched, the more futile it actually got. All right. So just a quick recap on what we talked about last week. We'll touch on some of it already. Looking for the ideal partner. Become the ideal partner. You know, be the change yourselves. When I change, everything else around me changes. You know, we talked a lot about that actually on Sunday. Changing ourselves and then our world changes. So when I change, things change. For things to get better, I must get better. For things to get better, you must get better. For things to change, you must change. Don't expect anybody else to change. Miracles happen when we change. In other words, when we return to the truth of who we are, guess what we're going to attract? Huh? And in actual fact, just on that point, relationships are going through a pretty dramatic and indeed traumatic time. Why is that? Because one or other of the individuals is actually waking up to the truth of who they actually are. And that's causing a thing called breakdown. In one individual, perhaps, disillusionment with life, maybe a disillusionment with the relationship, because they begin to realize that, hey, you know, how did I find myself in this situation? I'm not being true to myself and I'm not being true to you. So how can I be true to you until I'm true to myself? Remember we talked about that last week. How can I be true to another until I'm true to myself? If I'm lying to myself, I'm lying to somebody else. Remember what Shakespeare said, above all, to thine own self be true, then thou canst not be false to any man and woman. We cannot be false to another when we are true and authentic with ourselves. We just won't allow it. We will not allow ourselves to be disrespectful to anybody else. Charity begins at home. Home is where the heart is. Whose heart? Our hearts. So when we are true to ourselves, then we are true to other people. Authenticity. If there's one thing that is absolutely mega important now happening, we see it all around. I mean, the corruption and all this stuff, everything's breaking. In other words, anything that's not real is breaking down because it has to. People are breaking down because they're not authentic. They're not being real. What does that mean? It's like their entire lives is not an expression of the truth of who they are. But the vast majority of people have no concept of who they actually are. So they've got to lose the external shell. They've got to lose the external identity. The veneer has got to be taken away, as it happened with me, to return to the truth, to return to the truth of who we actually are. Oops, back in Australia. That's it. So when all the external false identity is stripped away, then we can start over. And when we start over, we attract totally different people into our lives. People of a similar frequency, similar mindset, similar values. Values come from within. People who feel the same way as we do, which means separating from the head and people who are still stuck in the head. Now, what does that mean for relationships? Well, you know, a breakup does not necessarily mean long-term breakup. What it actually means, and I'm going to do an exercise here tonight. I promised you last week I was going to do it. I'm going to do it today. It's the 2 glasses exercise. I'm going to come to that in a few minutes. Very simple. If I have a half, the other half mentality, what am I going to attract? My other half mindset, mentality, is going to attract another person of the other half mindset. Now, if one or other individual of those 2 individuals starts to wake up and say, tell you what, this doesn't feel right anymore. The other half just doesn't feel right. It just, I don't feel right being a half. I want to be whole. I want to be complete. So what does that mean? That means that 2 individuals who have the other half mindset have got to give each other space to grow. Eckhart Tolle calls it in his book, highly recommend this book, by the way, make a note of it. He covers it, I feel, in his book, The New Earth, but the power of now, which is essentially the power of presence, the power of the I am within presence is the power of now. Because as we know, we talked about it before, that the head is given to the past and given to the future. So regrets of the past and unforgiveness and all that malarkey and worries about the future and anxiety about the future effectively steals the only thing we have. What's that? Present moment. That's all we got. And that's why the Creator in its infinite wisdom gave us a thing called breath of life. And that's why Wally Minto, one of my mentors 21 years ago, gave us that. Relax, I am within. Because when we forget who we actually are, i.e. go up into the head, return to the truth of who you actually are, just with 3 deep breaths and that mantra. Now, you know, being is present. We're not human wasings, or we're not human wannabes. Human wasings are living in the past, and human wannabes want to be something that somebody else is. Who wants to be somebody else anyway? Why would we want to do that? Well, the only reason we do that is because we're not happy with ourselves. Well, happiness actually is subject to what happens. Contentment is a state of being. So when we return to here, with that comes self-love, self-respect, self-esteem, self-worth, self-confidence, and inner peace. And then inner peace becomes peace of mind. So guess what we're going to attract? People of the same frequency. Now, when we are whole and complete within ourselves, do we need anybody else to make us feel better about who we are? No. So the other half mentality is gone. Over. No more other half mentality. A whole being attracts a whole being. Have we ever actually seen a thing called the infinity symbol? Well, what the infinity symbol is, the figure 8 on its side. And the infinity symbol is made up of 2 full circles. There, 2 full circles. Can we see it? Yeah, 2 full circles. Yeah, 2 full circles, more or less. You know what I mean? 1 circle, 1 circle. So, in other words, a whole and complete being attracts another whole and complete being. They don't drain from each other. The whole and complete being is whole and complete, and it overflows because it's continually connected to the source of its own power. It is not draining from the other person. The other half mentality drains from each other. They drain from each other. And you know, when you put the other half, two other halves together, what you actually have is a quarter of a relationship. Now, I'm going to do this exercise here in a second. But before I do so, excuse me. We played last week, or I suggested last week, Marianne Williamson's book, Return to Love. By the way, that is a presse, or what's the term I'm looking for? A liquidized version of the Course in Miracles. Now, Course in Miracles is about 1,200 pages. I mean, if you really want to get into it, feel free. But what Marianne Williamson actually did, she did the Course in Miracles, and she then condensed the Course in Miracles down to a book and called it Return to Love. And that's what we're talking about here. It's the returning to the truth of who we actually are, which is love. You and I are love. Our divine essence and presence is love and light being. We are love and light beings, and we should be love and light. But when we're in fear, we're not in love and light, we're in fear and control. Fear of ourselves and controlled by other people, or we're in fear of somebody else and being controlled by them. It's called the other half mentality. We need to sort this, folks. We really need to sort this out, because we will never have peace in a relationship. We will never, ever, 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 ever have fulfillment or peace in a relationship at all until we find it within the male and female within ourselves. Let's stop looking outside for love. Never, ever, ever going to happen. Futile chase. Please do yourself a favor. Stop looking outside. Look in the mirror. Eyes are the windows to the soul. Look into your own soul and say, I love you. I want to fall in love with you. I want the head and the soul and the heart to become one, so we fall in love, so the poor body is not caught up in civil war, a thing called dis-ease. So emotional and mental dis-ease eventually leads to physical disease. Why is that? Other half mentality. It's actually suppressed. The actual truth of who you actually are is being suppressed and repressed, and eventually leads to being depressed. Depression. So become whole and complete, and all of that stuff disappears. All of it disappears. All right. Another song, which I'm going to post actually after this. Another Whitney Houston song, Hero. Please look it up, and I'm going to post it actually after this, or maybe tomorrow morning. Hero. And some of the words, I'm going to read them here. You can find love if you search within yourself. Emptiness you felt will disappear. Listen to that. Words again. You can find love if you search within yourself, and the emptiness you felt will disappear. That's it. So when we find that, the emptiness we felt disappears, and we stop looking outside ourselves for love. All right. I promised you I was going to do the exercise. Here we go. Can we see the two glasses? Give me a thumbs up, please. Somebody give me the thumbs up. Can we see the two glasses? Yes. Okay. So the two glasses. All right. Now you notice, half full or half empty. Well, that depends on a thing called perception. Someone who's stuck in their mind, they call it half empty. Someone who has a semblance of inner consciousness calls it half full. Still the same thing though, aren't they? So we have two glasses with the same amount of water. I want you to imagine that these are two individuals. These are two people in a relationship. All right. So one is lacking and the other is lacking. They're both lacking. So here's what happens. Are we ready for this? Please practice this at home. Yeah, it's okay to do this at home. Yeah. Yes, it is playing with water, not fire. So here we go. We're ready? So we're going to pour this into this glass. Now, So now we have one glass that is 2/3 full and the other one's 1/3 empty. How does this one here feel? This one here feels depleted. This one here feels energized. This one here, because it feels depleted, actually feels resentful. Oh, this doesn't feel good. Uh-oh, I'm not happy in this relationship. There's something not quite right because I have given away my power. They don't realize that, but that's what they've done. They have poured their love and their power into somebody else. Okay, great. And this other person here becomes a thing called dependent. So now we have a classic codependency going on. Codependency, what does that mean? Well, basically, here's co for you. Here's codependence. Here we go. So what's actually happened now? So this glass is now near full because this person here has emptied out their essence into the other person. And this is what goes on. I mean, this is incessant stuff. And you know something? It may actually be the case that in a relationship, when one or other isn't feeling that this person here is giving them what they actually want, it's exactly it. The mind can never be satisfied. So the ego is a bottomless pit. So one pours into the other and then the other pours back and drama, 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 drama. And if they get tired of each other, guess what happens? They move off and they do it with somebody else, as I did. And they keep going until they eventually settle for what? Settle for less. Excuse me for being direct. Settle down? Settle for less? No. Why should we ever settle for less? That's the epitome of the lack of self-worth. The epitome of being untrue to ourselves. And live a lie to ourselves and somebody else. Why would anybody want to do that? Worse still, if we actually know the truth and we actually deny it, that's really going to make us ill. Okay, so here's what needs to happen. All right, if two people are in a relationship like that, and they're joined at the hip, in other words, the other half and the other half, so the other half and the other half, and they have a whole relationship. No, they have a quarter of a relationship. Not wholesome whatsoever. It's called codependency and dysfunctional, period. That's what it is. So here's what needs to happen. Give each other space to grow. Separation doesn't necessarily mean complete separation. It may do, actually. It may do. But Eckhart Tolle calls it a spiritual practice. If the two people are realizing what's going on, they agree to give each other space to allow each other to grow. What does that mean? Become whole and complete. Okay, so I'm going to do an exercise here. By the way, this becoming whole and complete is like a well. It fills up from the inside, fills up from the bottom, from the inside, not from the top. The conditioning was poured in from the top. But please, for the purpose of this exercise, I'm not going to bore a hole in this glass and put a hose under it. All right. Okay. So here, I want you to imagine that this here, this jug is actually filling up the person. They're becoming whole and complete within themselves. Can we see that? That is now a full glass. Careful, Samuel. Don't want to wet the computer. All right. So spiritual practice, happy days. So this person here has now become whole, fulfilled. They're filled full. Listen to the word fulfilled, just means filled full. So now they're fulfilled. And because they're connected to the source of that which is fulfilling, the source of love and light, continuously connected to it, they become overflowing. So they overflow and they overflow and they never stop overflowing. The only way a person can stop overflowing is if they cease the connection to the source of the overflow. So the overflow continues to overflow. All right. This person here then no longer requires anything or anything from anyone else because they are already overflowing. That's the way it should be. We are whole and complete beings and we should be always that way. So we no longer require anything from anyone else to make us feel better about who we actually are. All right, so let's imagine then we have Two people who have agreed to help each other help themselves. Another person can never help another until they desire to help themselves. I'm going to say that again. A person can never help another person until the other person says, I need help. And I'm serious about it. I am genuinely desiring help. All right, so here's what can happen then. This is Eckhart Tolle's example of a spiritual practice. So a spiritual practice is the other person, I hope of enough water, the other person actually, I sincerely hope of enough water, just about. So the other person actually goes on their own personal journey and they plug into the source of their own energy and they become whole and complete. So I want you to imagine that both glasses are now whole, fulfilled, and overflowing. And here's the figure 8. Remember, 2 whole, complete circles, and then they intertwine. And there's the infinity symbol. That's it. That's the answer, folks. Becoming whole and complete. But we'll never become whole and complete until we take a look in the mirror and say, I must change. I've had enough of the other half mentality. So just a quick recap. 2 halves can never become whole. 2 halves will never be a wholesome relationship. Never, ever. It's not possible. A whole and complete person is a whole and complete individual. And a whole and complete individual then attracts other whole and complete individuals. A whole and complete individual will never ever need anything from anybody else, never want anything from anybody else, because it's whole and complete and overflowing within itself. Birds of a feather flock together. If one has another half mentality, mindset, guess what they're going to attract? If one has a wholesome, fulfilling consciousness, guess what they're going to attract? Very simple exercise, folks. Please practice it yourself. It's incredibly powerful. I was shown that way back in 1993, 5 years before I discovered meditation and how to actually become whole and complete within myself. It was shortly after reading Jan de Vries's book, Stress and Nervous Disorders, that came from, by the way. All right, so look, that's me for this evening. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you listening in. I really appreciate your comments and your presence. But you know, above all, to thine own self be true, then there canst not be false to any man or woman. Relationships are under immense pressure right now. And why is that? Because individuals are being pushed to become authentic. I'll just finish with this. You may recall I mentioned last week, or maybe it was the previous week. Yeah, I think it was last week. Shaken to the core. Shaken to the core. And le corps is French for heart. That's what's going on, folks. Everyone and everything has been shaking out of the ego, fear, and control mindset, the concrete mindset. Layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of conditioning, which have impacted our self-worth, self-esteem, self-respect, self-confidence, all been pummeled. People are going to lose their minds because they have to. They literally must lose the mind control, which has been controlling themselves and controlling others. It's over. So keep it simple. Look in the mirror. Eyes are the windows to the soul. Please fall in love with ourselves, where the soul and the heart and the mind and the body become one. There it is. And there's no longer emotional or mental disease or emotional or mental dysfunction, and the body becomes living at ease and in pleasure, because we are connected to the source that is within, called the I am within, and the soul and the heart and the mind become totally at one, in harmony, in ease, inner peace, full of pure, unconditional love. Thank you. It's been a pleasure sharing it with you, and the 2 glasses. So cheers to you all, and enjoy the rest of your evening. And we'll see you same time next Tuesday, which I believe 7 and 7, 14. Is that right? So next Tuesday, 14th, alive and well at 7 p.m. Thank you. Namaste, and loads of heart hugs. Bye-bye now.